Sample question paper. Created by Couture Foundation. On ICSE's professional program. Group 2 elective paper 7.4. Banking and Insurance Laws and Practice. Lesson 3. Control over Organization of Banks. Sample question paper. Banking Regulation and Organizational Control. Time, 3 hours. Vertical bar. Total marks, 100. Part I, short answer questions, 40 marks. Instructions, answer any 10 questions. Each question carries 4 marks. Q1. List any 4 regulatory acts that form the framework for banking control in India. Answer, regulatory acts. The framework for banking control in India is primarily formed by the Reserve Bank of India Act, 1934, and the Banking Regulation Act, 1949. Additionally, the Companies Act, 2013, and the Payment and Settlement Systems Act, 2007, play significant roles in the regulatory structure. Q2. State the primary objective behind the licensing of banking companies as per Section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. Answer. Primary objective of licensing. Under Section 22, the primary objective is to ensure that the company has the capacity to pay its present and future depositors in full as their claims accrue. It also ensures that the affairs of the company are not being conducted in a manner detrimental to the interests of its depositors. Q3. Identify 2 conditions an applicant company must satisfy before the RBI issues a banking license. Answer. Conditions for license. An applicant must demonstrate that it has an adequate capital structure and that its general character and management will not be prejudicial to the public interest. The RBI also evaluates whether the company has the potential to be financially viable in the current and future banking environment. Q4. Briefly explain the RBI's power to control advances by banking companies under Section 21. Answer. Control over advances. Section 21 empowers the RBI to determine the policy in relation to advances to be followed by banking companies in the public interest or to protect depositors. It can give directions regarding the purpose of advances, the margins to be maintained, and the maximum amount of advances to any one company or individual. Q5. What are the restrictions regarding the assets of a banking company in India at the close of each quarter? Answer. Restrictions on assets. At the close of each quarter, the assets of a banking company in India must not be less than 75% of its demand and time liabilities in India. This ensures that a substantial portion of the bank's resources is held within the country to meet local obligations. Q6. Define a banking outlet as per the revised branch licensing policy. Answer. Banking outlet. A banking outlet is a fixed point service unit staffed by the bank's own employees or business correspondents, where services like accepting deposits and encashing checks are provided. It must provide banking services for a minimum of 4 hours per day for at least 5 days a week. Q7. What is the minimum capital requirement for a small finance bank, SFB, under the ONTAP licensing guidelines? Answer. Capital for SFBs, under the ONTAP licensing guidelines, the minimum paid-up voting equity capital for a small finance bank is set at 200 rupees crore. For banks transitioning from primary urban cooperative banks, the initial requirement is 100 rupees crore, which must be increased to 200 rupees crore within 5 years. Q8. Distinguish between the lending capabilities of payment banks and small finance banks. Answer. Lending capabilities. Payment banks are restricted from undertaking any lending activities or issuing credit cards to customers. In contrast, small finance banks are designed to provide credit to unserved and underserved sections, such as small business units and micro-industries. Q9. Name 4 entities that are eligible to promote a payment bank in India. Answer. Promoters of payment banks. Entities eligible to promote payment banks include non-bank prepaid payment instrument, PPI, issuers, individuals or professionals with experience in banking and finance, and mobile telephone companies. Additionally, public sector entities and real estate cooperatives may also be eligible. Q10. State the fit and proper criteria regarding the criminal record and professional relationships of a bank director. Answer. Fit and proper criteria. A director must have a clean record, meaning they have not been convicted of any offense involving moral turpitude or any economic offense. Professionally, they should not be associated with any entity that could create a conflict of interest or result in undue influence over the bank's operations. Q11. What is the maximum continuous period for which a director, other than a chairman or WTD, can hold office? Answer. Maximum term for directors. A director, other than the chairman or a whole-time director, can hold office for a maximum continuous period of 8 years. After this term, they are required to vacate the office and are not eligible for reappointment in that bank for a specified period. Q12. Briefly explain the RBI's power to appoint additional directors under Section 36AB. Answer. Appointment of additional directors. Under Section 36AB, the RBI can appoint one or more persons as additional directors if it believes it is necessary in the public interest or to prevent the bank's affairs from being conducted in a manner detrimental to depositors. These directors hold office at the pleasure of the RBI and are not required to hold any qualification shares. Part 2, Essay type questions, 40 marks. Instructions, answer any 5 questions. Each question carries 8 marks. Q1. Powers of the RBI. Discuss the extensive powers granted to the RBI under the Banking Regulation Act, 1949, specifically focusing on its authority to give directions and inspect books. Answer. The Banking Regulation Act, 1949, confers extensive supervisory and cautionary powers upon the RBI to ensure the stability of the financial system. Under Section 35, the RBI has the authority to inspect the books and accounts of any banking company at any time. This inspection can be initiated by the RBI spontaneously or directed by the central government if there is reason to believe a bank is conducting affairs against the interest of its depositors. Following such inspections, the RBI provides a report to the bank highlighting irregularities, which the bank is legally mandated to rectify within a specified time frame. Furthermore, Section 35A grants the RBI the power to issue binding directions to banks in the public interest, to prevent the affairs of any banking company from being conducted in a manner detrimental to the interests of the depositors, or to secure the proper management of any banking company. These directions can cover a wide range of operational aspects, including credit control, interest rates, and governance. Under Section 21, the RBI specifically controls the advances made by banks, allowing it to dictate the purpose of loans, margins to be maintained, and the rate of interest to be charged. These powers collectively ensure that the RBI can intervene decisively to maintain the health of the banking sector and protect the national economy. Q2. Licensing of foreign banks. Describe the specific conditions and procedural requirements for a foreign bank to open its maiden branch in India. Answer. A foreign bank looking to open its maiden branch in India must navigate a rigorous regulatory process governed by Section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act. The RBI follows a single class of license policy, meaning foreign banks can operate either through branches or as a wholly owned subsidiary, WS. For a maiden branch, the RBI evaluates the bank's global standing, its financial health, and the regulatory environment of its home country. A critical factor is the principle of reciprocity. The RBI considers whether Indian banks are granted similar rights to operate in the foreign bank's home nation. Procedurally, the foreign bank must satisfy the RBI that its government and the law of the country in which it is incorporated do not discriminate against Indian banking companies. The applicant must demonstrate a minimum assigned capital, currently $25 million, upfront. The RBI also scrutinizes the bank's international presence and its ability to contribute to the Indian economy. Once these criteria are met, and the RBI is satisfied that the bank's entry is not prejudicial to the public interest, a license is granted. However, the RBI reserves the right to impose additional conditions at the time of licensing to ensure the bank adheres to local prudential norms. Q3. Branch expansion policy. Explain the general permission granted to domestic scheduled commercial banks for opening banking outlets and the specific conditions for unbanked rural centers, URCs. Answer. To promote financial inclusion and streamline operations, the RBI introduced a revised general permission policy for domestic scheduled commercial banks, excluding RRBs. Under this framework, banks that meet specific financial criteria, such as maintaining the required CRR and SLR, having a net NPA ratio of less than 5%, and a good track record of compliance, are no longer required to seek prior approval from the RBI to open banking outlets in Tier 1 to Tier 6 centers. This shift allows banks to be more agile in their expansion strategies based on commercial viability. However, this autonomy comes with a mandatory social obligation, the Unbanked Rural Center (URC) requirement. To ensure that rural areas are not neglected, banks are required to open at least 25% of the total number of banking outlets opened during a financial year in unbanked rural centers. A URC is defined as a rural village center that does not have a brick-and-mortar structure of any scheduled commercial bank for customer-based banking transactions. This 25% quota is a rolling requirement, and any shortfall in one year must be carried over and rectified in the next. This policy balances the commercial freedom of banks with the national priority of bringing banking services to the underserved population. Q4. Board of Directors. Elaborate on the composition and reconstitution of the Board of Directors in a banking company, including the process of removing directors. Answer. The composition of a bank's Board of Directors is strictly regulated under Section 10 of the Banking Regulation Act to ensure professional management. At least 51% of the board members must possess special knowledge or practical experience in areas such as accountancy, agriculture, banking, cooperation, economics, finance, law, or small-scale industry. This ensures that the board has the technical expertise to oversee complex financial operations. Additionally, the RBI mandates that directors should not have substantial interest in other companies or firms, except small-scale industries, to prevent conflicts of interest. The reconstitution and removal of directors are also under RBI oversight. If a board does not meet the 51% professional requirement, the RBI can direct the bank to reconstitute the board. If the bank fails to comply, the RBI has the power to remove non-compliant directors and appoint its own nominees. Under Section 36A, the RBI can remove any director, chairman, or CEO if it is satisfied that such action is necessary in the public interest or to protect depositors. Before removal, the person is given a reasonable opportunity to be heard. Once removed, that individual is prohibited from holding a management position in any bank for up to 5 years. This rigorous framework ensures that bank leadership remains ethical and competent. Q5. Corporate governance. Define corporate governance in the banking context and explain why it is vital for the stability of a nation's economy. Answer. Corporate governance in banking refers to the set of relationships between a bank's management, its board, its shareholders, and other stakeholders. It provides the structure through which the objectives of the bank are set, and the means of attaining those objectives and monitoring performance are determined. In the banking sector, governance is unique because it must protect the interests of depositors, above all others, as they provide the bulk of the bank's funds but have no say in management. High standards of corporate governance are vital for a nation's economic stability because banks are the central pillars of the financial system. If a bank fails due to poor governance or ethical lapses, it can trigger a systemic crisis, eroding public trust and halting credit flow to the economy. Effective governance ensures transparency, accountability, and prudent risk management. The RBI emphasizes the fit and proper criteria for directors to ensure that only individuals of high integrity lead these institutions. By mandating a professional board composition and clear roles for the chairman and CEO, the regulatory framework aims to prevent crony capitalism and ensures that banks operate as stable, trustworthy vehicles for national wealth. Q6. Management restrictions. Analyze the various restrictions imposed on the employment and management of banking companies under Section 10 of the Banking Regulation Act. Answer. Section 10 of the Banking Regulation Act imposes stringent prohibitions on the employment and management of banking companies to prevent unethical practices and financial instability. A banking company is prohibited from being managed by a person who is or has been adjudicated insolvent, or who has been convicted by a criminal court of an offense involving moral turpitude. These restrictions ensure that individuals with compromised integrity do not have access to public funds. Furthermore, no bank can be managed by a person whose remuneration is, in the opinion of the RBI, excessive or takes the form of a commission or a share in the profits of the company. This prevents management from taking reckless risks to inflate short-term profits for personal gain. Additionally, a person cannot serve as a director of a bank if they are a director of any other company, with specific exceptions like subsidiaries or Section 8 companies. There are also cooling off periods. For example, a director, other than the chairman or WTD, can hold office for a maximum of 8 years continuously. These restrictions are designed to ensure that the management remains focused, independent, and free from external commercial pressures that could jeopardize the bank's safety. Q7. Supersession of board. Under what circumstances can the RBI supersede the board of directors, and what is the role of the appointed administrator? Answer. Under Section 36 ACA of the Banking Regulation Act, the RBI has the extraordinary power to supersede the board of directors of a banking company for a period not exceeding 6 months, extendable up to a total of 12 months. This action is taken if the RBI is satisfied that the board is acting in a manner detrimental to the interest of the depositors, or if there is a persistent default in complying with RBI directions. It is a last resort intervention used when the existing management is deemed incapable of steering the bank out of a crisis or is engaged in malpractice. Upon supersession, the RBI appoints an administrator to manage the bank's affairs. The administrator is typically an individual with significant experience in banking or finance. The role of the administrator is to exercise all the powers and duties that were previously vested in the board of directors. They act under the direct supervision of the RBI and are often assisted by a committee of 3 or more members appointed by the RBI. The primary objective of the administrator is to stabilize the bank, protect depositor interests, and prepare the ground for a new, compliant board to take over. This mechanism ensures that even if a bank's leadership fails, the institution can be preserved through direct regulatory intervention. Part 3. Case Study, 20 marks. Instructions. Read the scenario below and answer the 5 questions that follow. Each question carries 4 marks, total 20. Scenario. Visionary Bank Limited is an applicant for a new private sector banking license. During the scrutiny of their application, the RBI finds that the promoters have a history of defaulting on loans with other financial institutions. Additionally, the bank proposes to operate primarily in urban areas, ignoring the rural credit gap. The RBI decides to refuse the license. Q1. Under which section of the Banking Regulation Act does the RBI have the authority to grant or refuse this license? Answer. Authority to grant refuse license. The RBI has the authority to grant or refuse a banking license under Section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act, 1949. This section mandates that no company shall carry on banking business in India unless it holds a license issued by the RBI. Q2. Can the RBI's decision to refuse a license based on diligent study and material facts be challenged in a court of law? Cite the relevant legal precedent mentioned in the lesson. Answer. Legal challenge and precedent. No, the court generally does not interfere with the RBI's decision if it is based on a diligent study of material facts. This was established in the legal precedent of Sajjan Bank, PVT, Limited versus RBI, where the court held that the RBI is the best judge to decide the fitness of a banking company. Q3. How does the promoter's history of default affect the fit and proper assessment for the proposed management? Answer. Fit and proper assessment. A history of default directly disqualifies promoters under the fit and proper criteria, as it suggests the management's conduct may be detrimental to the interests of depositors. The RBI requires promoters to have a high level of integrity and a clean track record in financial dealings to ensure sound management. Q4. What is the current policy for licensing private sector banks? Is it stop and go or on tap? Answer. Current licensing policy. The current policy for licensing universal and small finance banks in the private sector is on tap. This means that the window for applying for a banking license is open throughout the year, rather than the previous stop and go window-based approach. Q5. If Visionary Bank were to apply as a small finance bank, what percentage of its adjusted net bank credit, ANBC, would it be required to lend to the priority sector? Answer. Priority sector lending, PSL, for SFBs, if applying as a small finance bank, the entity would be required to lend 75% of its adjusted net bank credit, ANBC, to the priority sector. This is significantly higher than the 40% requirement typically mandated for universal banks. Test yourself. Q1. What are the powers of RBI with reference to appointment chairman, managing director and other directors of banks? Answer. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, holds significant statutory authority over the leadership of banking companies to ensure they are managed by competent and ethical individuals. Under Section 10B of the Banking Regulation Act, every banking company must have a whole-time chairman or a managing director whose appointment, reappointment, or termination requires prior approval from the RBI. The RBI assesses the fit and proper status of these individuals, ensuring they possess the necessary professional experience and integrity. If the RBI finds that a person is not fit for the role, it can direct the bank to remove them and appoint a suitable replacement. Furthermore, the RBI has the power to appoint additional directors under Section 36AB. This power is exercised when the RBI deems it necessary in the interest of banking policy, the public interest, or to protect the interests of the depositors. These additional directors hold office at the pleasure of the RBI and are not required to hold qualification shares. The RBI also regulates the remuneration of the chairman and MD, ensuring that pay structures do not encourage imprudent risk-taking. By controlling these key appointments, the RBI ensures that the top management of banks remains accountable and aligned with national financial stability goals. Q2. Write a brief note on branch licensing aspects of banks in India. Answer. Branch licensing in India is governed by Section 23 of the Banking Regulation Act, which mandates that no banking company shall open a new place of business or change the location of an existing one without prior permission from the RBI. However, the policy has evolved significantly to balance commercial autonomy with financial inclusion. Currently, domestic scheduled commercial banks, excluding RRBs, are granted general permission to open banking outlets in Tier 1 to Tier 6 centers without prior RBI approval, provided they meet certain financial health criteria, such as a net NPA ratio below 5% and a clean track record of CRR/SLR compliance. A critical pillar of this policy is the Unbanked Rural Center (URC) requirement. To ensure rural penetration, banks must ensure that at least 25% of the total number of banking outlets opened during a financial year are located in URCs. A URC is defined as a village center that lacks a brick-and-mortar structure of any scheduled commercial bank. Banks must also report their branch openings to the RBI on a quarterly basis. For foreign banks, the rules are stricter. They require specific prior approval from the RBI for each branch, often based on the principle of reciprocity and the bank's contribution to the Indian economy. Q3. What are the various powers of RBI regarding control over directors and other employees of banks? Discuss briefly the licensing of private sector banks and RRBs in India. Answer. The RBI exercises tight control over the directors and employees of banks to prevent mismanagement. Under Section 36A, the RBI can remove any director or employee if it is satisfied that their conduct is detrimental to the depositors or the public interest. Once removed, that person is barred from participating in the management of any bank for up to 5 years. The RBI also sets the fit and proper criteria, which include checking for criminal records, economic offences, and conflicts of interest. This oversight extends to the power to supersede the entire board of directors under Section 36 ACA in extreme cases of governance failure. Regarding licensing, private sector banks are currently licensed under an on-tap policy. This means applications can be submitted at any time. Applicants must have a minimum paid-up voting equity capital of 200 rupees crore for universal banks and maintain a resident status for promoters. For regional rural banks, RRBs, the licensing process is different. They are established under the RRB Act, 1976, typically sponsored by a scheduled commercial bank in consultation with the state and central governments. RRBs focus specifically on rural credit and are governed by the RBI and NABD to ensure they serve the agricultural and rural sectors effectively. Q4. Write a note on importance and evolution of corporate governance in banks in India. Answer. Corporate governance in banking is the framework of rules and practices by which a board of directors ensures accountability, fairness, and transparency in a bank's relationship with its stakeholders. In India, its importance is paramount because banks primarily trade with depositors' money. Unlike typical corporations where shareholders carry the primary risk, a bank failure can jeopardize the savings of the general public and destabilize the entire economy. Effective governance ensures that risks are managed prudently and that management does not prioritize short-term profits over long-term stability. The evolution of governance in Indian banking was accelerated by the 1991 reforms and subsequent committees like the Ganguly Committee, 2002. Historically, boards were often influenced by a few major shareholders or promoters. Over time, the RBI introduced strict regulations requiring at least 51% of the board to be composed of professionals with special knowledge in fields like law, economics, and accountancy. The introduction of the fit and proper criteria and the separation of the roles of chairman and managing director, where applicable, further modernized the system. Today, governance is not just a regulatory requirement but a market signal of a bank's reliability and health. Q5. Summarize the fit and proper criteria for a person to be elected as a director in a PSU bank. Answer. The fit and proper criteria for directors in public sector undertaking, PSU, banks are designed to ensure that the leadership consists of individuals with high integrity and relevant expertise. Candidates must be between 35 and 67 years of age and possess a university degree. They must demonstrate special knowledge or practical experience in areas such as agriculture, rural economy, banking, cooperation, economics, business management, or law. This ensures that the director can provide meaningful oversight to the bank's complex operations. Equally important are the disqualifications. A candidate is not considered fit and proper if they have a criminal record, have been convicted of an offense involving moral turpitude, or have been a defaulter to any financial institution. They should not be a member of parliament, state legislature, or a municipal corporation. Furthermore, the RBI evaluates their professional track record to ensure they haven't been associated with any business failure due to mismanagement. Directors are also required to sign a deed of covenant and provide an annual declaration that they continue to meet these criteria, ensuring that the high standards of governance are maintained throughout their tenure. Thanks to learn with us. You can find more study content on our website couture.com.